Hi, so we're going to look today at a type of verbal reasoning called word analogies, and these are hard because they're different every time. So they could be synonyms, they could be antonyms, they could be similar types of words, they could be past tense words, they could be the same words with the letters rearranged in a different order. They can be really, really difficult, and we've deliberately chosen some examples here that get tricky, so I can just talk through what you need to do if the answer isn't obvious. So the first example here, we've got hot is to something as expensive is to something. Well, I can see that I've got cold there as an antonym. I don't think annoyed has anything to do with it, and the oven gets hot, but I don't think that's anything to do with it either. So I'm thinking maybe I'm going for antonyms opposites. And then I've got expensive is to giraffe. Well, I don't know how much they cost, but I don't think that's the correct one. We can have an expensive hotel, but obviously the opposite of expensive is cheap. So what I would be doing here is I want to underline the two that I've chosen. Okay, now moving on, we're getting on to some trickier words here. And the problem when the words are tricky is that the children don't know which one to go for. So here we've got palpable is to, and we've got intense, intangible, and eminent. Now, my concern would be that they potentially wouldn't know what any of those words meant, as erection is to bridge, production, or isolate. Now, erection in terms of construction has come up several times in texts that we've read, so I would hope that they would be able to go erection is to production, and actually palpable means intense. If something feels palpable, it's intense. So those would be the two that we would be wanting to underline there. Moving on, we've got bewildered. Again, a word they might not be sure of. Detrimental, beneficial, puzzled. Hopefully they know that puzzled means confused, and bewildered also means that. Then we've got as diligent is to interminable, meticulous, or eccentric. Again, some tricky words, but hopefully if they're playing their Kahoots and they're reading books at the levels that we want them to, these are the type of vocabulary they're going to come across. So once they've seen that bewildered is to puzzled, we're looking for something that means the same. If I'm diligent, I take care, therefore I'm meticulous. And then malaise is to sickness, vigour, or isolated. Again, this might not be a word that they know. It's quite an old choice of vocabulary. And then we've got as clamber is to build, descend, or lion. So we're thinking about clamber as being climbing, and usually we would think of climbing as climbing up. So a synonym would be ascend. So therefore an antonym is descend. So if I'm looking at the opposite, well, malaise means to be ill, to be sick. So therefore, the opposite of malaise is vigour. Isolated is a sort of odd word that we don't need. So I'm really trying to highlight here that the vocabulary can be really, really hard. And this is why playing things like the Kahoots are really important, not just for the reading comprehension, but for the verbal reasoning as well, because lots of these will be tricky. Even if you understand the strategy, the words themselves can be hard.